Greetings and welcome to Shadowbox Decision Games Warfighters Edition, the interactive site dedicated to helping practitioners exercise tactical decision-making skills and to advancing tactical thought in general through the use of tactical decision games or TDGs. I'm your host, John Schmidt. I'm also the CEO of Shadowbox LLC, a company devoted to studying the nature of expertise in a variety of domains and to helping people develop that expertise through a variety of training interventions such as warfighters. Today, we're here to talk about TDGs 11 and 12 in the Warfighter series. That would be Contact at the Seven Mounds. It's a two-part series. TDG 11 looks at the problem from the squad leader's point of view, while TDG 12 looks at the same problem from the platoon commander's point of view. My guest today is my friend and colleague, Dr. Bruce Goodmanson. Bruce, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Well, thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, when I was preparing for this interview, I was thinking back, and it occurs to me that you and I have known each other for 40 years. I arrived at the Doctrine Center in Quantico in late 1985, so almost exactly 40 years ago as a young captain. You arrived when?
May of 89.
No, you
No,
no, you weren't 4 years later, were you?
I'm trying to think. It's a while ago. Yeah, no, I think it was May of 89.
Was
Yes.
it really? Okay, I didn't
Yes.
realize I'd been there for that long before you arrived. But anyway, I eventually went on to write war fighting, and then I followed that up with campaigning. And you did what?
So what I did was I was actually a reservist called back to active duty to take part in the setting up of the Marine Corps University. Uh,
Right. Under the great PK Van Riper.
Yes, and working with Colonel Mike Wiley as well, and the um, and my big task there was to design the curriculum for the School of Advanced Warfighting, which I jokingly call the Gifted and Talented program for the Staff College.
So what is the School for Advanced Warfighting, very briefly?
So in those days, it's evolved into something very different. But in those days, it was a school for combat developers. It was, the idea was, well, the problem it was designed to solve was the the people who wanted this course thought Quantico had become an elephant's graveyard. It was a place where um, people came to retire. And so all of the work of writing doctrine, of designing units, designing policy, um, of education, all that was really done by people who were on their way out. So the
Mm,
idea was let's get some younger people, um, basically majors, mid career people, and let's give them a year of very specialized education. Specialized is not the right word, but intensive education.
right.
And we'll take the top graduates from the staff college, and we'll make these combat development mavens.
Right. So these are people who'd been to Command and Staff College for 1 year, and then the best of them were kept for a second year of intensive study.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So this is amazing to me. First of all, when I think about this, we're really old. I don't know what happened, but you and I are both really old. But the second thing is, it's remarkable is not even the word. The only word that comes to mind is ridiculous that a couple of junior captains could be given the opportunity to make the kind of institutional impact that you and I were given the opportunity to do. It's just ridiculous to me, and certainly couldn't happen in today's Marine Corps.
Yeah, I think it seems. I mean, I'm delighted to have been part of it and see myself as privileged to be part of it. But the looking at the history of military innovation, um, which is something a subject that's fascinated me for a long time. It's not that strange
Really.
that the again these days the uh, Well, I just came back from teaching a class at the basic school to instructors there. This is the basic school, a school for brand new, recently commissioned lieutenants that every recently commissioned lieutenant goes through in
in
the
the Marine
Marine Corps.
Corps.
Yeah. And the really impressed by a number of things. One was curiosity, other one was intelligence. Um, the only thing that disappointed me, and this of course is a function of the time that's passed, is only one person got my Marvin Gaye reference. So and he was one of the oldest people there. So we're in a very different time than we were, but we were there in the late 80s. We were coming out of the great doldrums of the 70s. And I enlisted in the Marine Corps Reserve, so I did 6 months of active duty in 1977, and that wasn't the worst of it, of the doldrums, but it was, um, dealing with a lot of people. A lot of people were enlisted who should not have been enlisted. A lot of people were commissioned who should not
Yeah.
have uh, been commissioned, and the we started solving the personnel problems in the late 70s. And then by the time the 80s came along, we said, okay, we're no longer dealing with those. We put out that particular fire. Now what do we do? And that, coincides with a great change in the mood of the country in the 80s. And it coincides with a great influx of talent into the Marine Corps. And a lot of that talent is quite young.
Yeah, and of course it coincides with the El Grey Commandancy, just a native reformer, and he
Yes.
brought this critical mass to Quantico, and we used to call it the Quantico Renaissance, right? It was you and I were both there for that. It was a really exciting and heady time to be part of all of that, because there were so many interesting things going on in doctrine and education and training and whatnot. So yeah, but these days. That was a long time ago. These days, you run the Tactical Notebook. Tell us a little bit
Yes. Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
Tactical Notebook.
Yeah. The tactical notebook is a Substack. So it's a somewhere between a blog and a newsletter. So you can enjoy it like a blog. Um, and I've patterned my blog after the old MHQ magazine. If you remember that
Right.
from the 80s and 90s, that very very nicely illustrated, well edited military history magazine. But it's also a newsletter. So every time I post an article, it goes into the email of the subscribers. So it serves both functions, and it's tactical. It's about things related to tactics, organization, military history, things like that. It's a notebook in that the articles are actually usually quite short. It's not these aren't long form essays. Very often, I will find something, discover something in the course of doing other kinds of research, and go, oh, I've never seen this before, and I'll write up a 4 or 5 page article. Try very hard to do proper illustrations, but I actually spend about more than half my time on graphics
Mhm.
for the various infographics, looking for the right photograph, looking for the right painting if it's an older thing. Very much in the spirit of the maneuver warfare movement. So a lot of examples from the maneuver warfare tradition. And we go back really to the 18th century with that. But most of our articles are really about the 20th century.
Mhm.
I want to do more older stuff. There's also a lot of tactical decision games and decision forcing cases. The decision forcing case being a tactical decision game based on real events.
Right.
So there's an interactive aspect to that. And so we do lots of those exercises.
All right, so let's jump into contact at the Seven Mounds. So I will recap the scenario for those of you who aren't familiar with it. You in this scenario, it starts out as a squad leader problem, and you are the squad leader of First Squad, and First Squad is the point squad of the advanced guard platoon for the battalion movement to contact heading north along this route here. And so you've got first fire team on your point. You're in a wedge formation. Third fire team's to the left. Second fire team's to the right. You've got a machine gun squad moving with you. You get to this stream bed and you start to take fire from enemy positions in this. You're entering this area called the Seven Mounds. It's a series of these seven small hillocks. And there's an ancient temple ruin in the middle of the first one. And so you start to take fire. Your Marines take cover in the stream bed, start returning fire against mounds 1 and 2. You estimate based on the amount of enemy fire that it's a reinforced squad at least. You then start to hear some automatic weapons fire, small arms fire from mound 7 to your right. It's not aimed at you. And at this point, you have no knowledge of where second fire team is. You don't have any visual on second fire team, and so that's the situation. So what do you do about it at this point? Advance the contact. You're the point. Your job is to develop the situation. You've run into the enemy. What are you going to do? So as the squad leader, what were you thinking here?
So the first thing I would do first, I got to remind myself of my mission. Again, so I'm the point of the point of the point.
Yeah,
The so I want to make sure that the platoon and higher know about this obstacle I've run into, this squad or more that I've run into. So I am going to return fire
yeah,
and bring up the machine guns as soon as I can
yeah,
to increase that fire. That'll do a couple of things. One, it should pin down at least some of the enemy. The other thing is that it lets the platoon commander know that something's going on.
right.
So my second concern is the missing fire team. And it's quite possible that additional fire I hear from Mound 7 involves that fire team. Did they get lost? The so then I so but the next thing I want to do is deal with that. Once the machine gun is up, or the machine guns are up, and they can produce a whole lot more fire than I can. I'll let them take over, let the machine guns take over that task of returning fire, to the front, and then I will take my squad and go looking for my fire team under the assumption that they are probably engaged in a firefight in front of Mount 7.
Okay. And so then you're moving to Mount 7 with your entire squad now, leaving only the machine guns, returning fire from the vicinity of the bridge with the stream
Yes,
at the
that's
stream
correct.
bed.
Yes.
And of course, in our day, you didn't have radio communications as a squad leader with your platoon commander. These days, you usually do. So I assume you're talking to your lieutenant by radio, saying, "Hey, boss, got enemy direct front. Estimate it's a squad or more. Taking my squad up to secure Mount 7."
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
And are you telling the platoon leader, platoon commander, anything else?
No, no. And I'm thinking back to the way you described this in your in Shadowbox, and I don't think the squad leader knew about uh, the monument, right? The ancient temple.
We might not have mentioned it. I
Yes.
don't recall whether we do or not. We certainly do, but for the platoon commander scenario, but
Yeah,
at the squad
yeah.
level, I
We'll
don't think we
talk.
did.
We'll talk about
Yeah.
that later because I think that's key. But no, those are really the two things. Is like we are fixing to the front, and I am moving to the right flank uh, to both find my missing fire team and deal with the fire, which I think right now is the same thing.
Yes. And so any thoughts beyond that? I mean, in maneuver warfare, we like to talk about always sort of thinking two levels up. Or if you're thinking two levels up, what have you got in mind here?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking that again, my job is to pin down the enemy in front of me so that the platoon commander may maneuver,
Hmm.
uh, and his maneuver will enable the maneuver of the company.
Hmm.
So the I don't want to uh, fight the battle myself. Really, I am the fix to the platoon's fight.
So you're the fix for the platoon's flank.
Yes.
And where do you envision that flank going?
I think that the looking at the terrain, we've got a whole bunch of open ground, um, and we've got
On the left.
on the left, right on
Yeah.
the and the left, we have a whole bunch of open ground,
Sort of
and
this way. Yeah.
yeah, on the right, however, we've got woods and we've got the hillocks, which have shadows, right? So lots of opportunities for infiltration.
Right. So you're sort of envisioning that the platoon there's an opportunity for the platoon to do this, to do
Yes.
an action right. And so in fact when I developed this scenario, I actually was explicitly trying to explore the concept of affordances, which is a concept that comes out of psychology. And an affordance, according to James Gibson, is a feature of the environment that provides an opportunity to the actor in that environment, right? And so could you see affordances here? Could you recognize that these hills connected by the wooded areas afford the possibility to do a right hook and potentially get into a position to flank the enemy? So Mound 7, I would suggest, sort of starts to do that. If you can capture Mound 6, even better. And if you can get to Mound 5, you're now actually getting into a position where you're threatening to unhinge the enemy position altogether, right? So the main thing, when I looked at the various answers that people gave in war fighters, the real issue was, what is the squad leader's scope? How much latitude does the squad leader have, and how far can a squad leader with his resources push? Right. So a lot of guys were, I can go to Mount 7 and that's as far as I can go. I'm going to keep my squad together and just keep us all on Mount 7. And I will let the platoon commander decide if he wants to continue to go further, or even if he wants to go in a different direction. But my scope for action doesn't extend past Mount 7. We had other people saying, I want to go to Mount 6, which I would be willing to do personally if I didn't have to fight for it. If I got to Mount 7 and it looked like 6 was unoccupied, I'd push for 6, and I'd even consider the possibility of pushing for 5. Some people wanted to do that. Others thought that was way too far. I would consider it if I was in communication with my lieutenant and I was confident that he was reinforcing me very, very quickly, so I was not going to be hanging out here by myself. And again, if 5 were undefended, but like you, I'm sort of seeing this as the ultimate move. Whether we get there or not depends a lot on the enemy situation and about how and whether I'm on the same page as my lieutenant and how quickly he's able to reinforce me or not. But that's where I was thinking. Where are you on that?
Yeah, you don't know. I agree. In fact, I agree so much that I didn't mention it because it struck me as obvious.
Okay, well, yeah,
Yeah, and this is something, looking at the TDGs people have been doing since um, the oldest one I've got, I think, is from 1803. Right? So these are, if you'll forgive another plug for the Tactical Notebook, these are published in the Tactical Notebook. Got one from 1803 that was actually worked out by a young Lieutenant Clausewitz.
I've done it. I've done it.
Yeah, so I have to be careful of the yeah, it struck me as so obvious that um, uh, I knew my lieutenant would take that would take that route. So I'm going to do that. And of course, I should be talking. If I've got a radio, I should be talking to him. But if I
Yeah.
don't have a radio, the fact that I am fixing to the front, um, and what would be the left flank of that route, would lead the lieutenant to do that.
Yeah. And you're leaving instructions with your machine gun squad, very precise instructions saying when the lieutenant shows up, because he's hustling up here.
Yes,
Tell him this is what I've done,
yes.
right? And this is the opportunity I'm trying to create for him. And he can, hustle up and pull me back if he doesn't like it or whatever. Okay, so that's the squad problem. And then the next problem is the platoon problem. So it's the same situation. But this time you're the platoon commander. So first squad is in front of you. You're about 50, 75 meters behind first squad. You're in a platoon wedge. So you've got second squad to your left, third squad to your right. Now you hear that first squad is making contact. And you hear the fire. First squad leader reports in, estimate it's an enemy squad reinforced. I'm returning fire. I've captured Mound 7. But I've got you set up now for. I've basically created a base of fire with my squad at the from in the stream bed and at Mound 7 for you to do a left hook and envelop the enemy position. So he's recommending that you do something like this, right, to take the enemy in the left flank. So what's your reaction there?
Yeah, I think that's crazy. I think that would be there is so much open ground.
Yeah, 500 meters of open
A
terrain.
single machine gun will turn that into the Battle of the Somme. First day on the Somme. It's crazy. No, modern infantry lives in the woods. The woods is the home for modern infantry, and really has been for a couple of centuries now. So no, as the platoon commander, I want to well, I want to do a couple of things. From a purely tactical position perspective, I want to go through the woods and envelop uh, not just uh, from the right, but from the top, from the to go all the way around. From a strategic, even political, and this is thinking very many levels up. I think that that this is a propaganda trap. That's to say, the enemy wants footage of us destroying this priceless monument
Hmm.
and the show how barbaric the Americans are. I'm thinking this. I did a lot of work about the on the 2020 war in Nagorno-Karabakh between the Azerbaijani forces and the Armenian forces, and was struck by the role that the destruction of monuments played in both particularly in the propaganda on each side. So that's what's on my mind. But I
Hmm.
think that we do not want to uh, attack the hill that has the monument. That would be blowing up the Taj Mahal, blowing up the the Lincoln Memorial or the
Yeah,
Jefferson Monument. I mean, it's something we want to avoid if we can.
yeah.
So
So,
avoiding
so I
that,
mean, we haven't specified how significant
yes,
this is, but it's a cultural icon without a
yes,
doubt,
yeah.
right? So
And but in this case, the two things work together. So both tactics, at the platoon level, and the grandest of strategy, right? Politics, are in harmony here.
mhm,
So I do want to. I've got this great infiltration route. I want to use it, and if I get behind the enemy, then he has either he'll withdraw, um, or he will have to fight at a great disadvantage.
yeah.
And
So
more than that, when the company comes up, it'll be dealing with a situation where there's already the better part of a platoon in the enemy's rear.
yeah. So I'll be honest, I did not think of the cultural, religious, political aspect of this. My sole thinking was I'm not planning to attack Mound One. I'm not interested in a direct fight with these guys. My goal is to lever them out of position. And I mean, just like you, I think if I'm able to do this, I make that position untenable and I don't have to assault Mound One anyway, right? I force them to withdraw, or they die in place, or they get captured. So how much are you willing to restrict yourself militarily um, for these cultural slash political reasons? Are no fires at all? No artillery, no 81s. Are you willing to put 60 millimeter mortars on Mound One? I mean,
Well,
just exactly where do you draw the line?
yeah, I think that, and this is where. a TDG differs from a DFC, right? So, DFC, if this were based on a historical event, I'd know, I'd have some specifics about the monument. It would,
Sure.
right,
Yeah.
right. So the a lot of this really it is it's a function of the state of the monument.
Hmm.
So, for example, if this is a pyramid, like, the Great Pyramid of Giza, well, 60 millimeter mortars isn't going to change anything with a monument like that. But if it's something more fragile, if it's like, Angkor Wat with all this intricate carving and things like that, that's a different story. So that really depends on the nature of the monument. However, since I'm a lieutenant of Marines, not an archaeologist or an ethnologist or what have you, um, I'll probably err on the side of safety.
Hmm.
And the other thing is there's plenty for the supporting arms to do on the other mounts.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go back to this to your squad leader who's trying to set you up for this
Yes.
left hook that across 500 meters of open terrain. So in the old days, that used to be a good initiative, poor judgment, right, kind of thing. So he thinks he's setting us up for one thing. So good for him that he's thinking up and he's trying to create an advantage for me, the platoon commander, because I think that's what he ought to be doing. Every tactician ought to be thinking, how do I create an advantage for the next guy up? Right?
Yes.
So that he can be more successful. And you, as the lieutenant in this case, ought to be thinking, all right, how do I create an advantage for the battalion? Because I'm working for the battalion here. So it applies that way. So he's trying to do that. He's not reading the terrain very well and doing it. He thinks he's setting you up for a left hook. You're not obligated to follow that just because he's taken the initiative doesn't mean that you're obligated to that course of action. In this case, you shouldn't, as you pointed out, because it would be disastrous to do it probably. So you've got to put the brakes on that and say, no, I'd rather do this. In this case, though, fortunately, what he's done here and here can also support what you want to do this way. So it's not like he's done something that there's he's done something that you're going to have to unroll and start from scratch. You can still build on what he's done for you, particularly in capturing Mound 7 and make good use of that. So he has created an advantage for you. He's a small one. He's sort of got his foot in the door, and that's going to allow you to make a bigger move this way. And then you, by getting to here, maybe even threatening to get to Mound 4, you're compounding that advantage now for your battalion commander and giving him a chance to completely turn the enemy position. And so what I was going for with this TDG is a concept that I would call nested initiative, whereby every commander or leader takes the initiative at his level to try to create an advantage for the leader at the next level up that he can exploit to create a greater advantage that his boss can exploit to create an ever greater advantage. And so that advantage compounds with each successive echelon until it becomes decisive, right? And so that's kind of the sort of the OODA loop idea where that's usually sort of a temporal explanation. With each turn of the OODA loop, if you're faster than the enemy, you create an advantage that compounds, and the situation starts to cascade away from the enemy. It's the same idea of this compounding interest by successive echelons of initiative. Anyway,
No, if I can add to that, build upon that idea, is that even though what the sergeant was planning to do, had begun to do, was not a good idea, the fact that he was doing it is attracting enemy attention,
mhm.
fusing the enemy. So it provides me with a distraction, provides me like a kind of deception even. And this, I think, fits in with the philosophy of maneuver warfare.
Mhm.
Even when, low-level initiative is not well applied, we want it to be well applied, but even when it's not, it can be advantageous to us.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, just can be disruptive to the enemy no matter what. Yeah, and I would argue that the concept actually started before the platoons, before the squad leader in this case. It was actually second fire team leader who apparently on his own initiative saw the importance of Mound 7 and got his fire team up on Mound 7, and started that exploiting that affordance around from 7 to 6 to 5 to 4. So it really started with him. The squad leader was able to exploit that, and then we were able to exploit what the squad leader had set up, and presumably, hopefully, our battalion commander is going to be quick to reinforce what we, as the lieutenant, have done, and make the most of it. Now, all of this, of course, depends on sort of your subordinates knowing that they have the latitude to do this, right? And trusting that you're going to support them quickly when they do stick their neck out. Because as the platoon commander in this case, yeah, I'm certainly going to go for six. I'd like to go to five. How much further I push really kind of depends on how quickly the support is coming, right? How quickly does the battalion commander throw another company into this? Because if we're running into a sizable enemy force, if this is, for example, just the advanced guard of an enemy battalion, I don't want to be hanging out there as a lieutenant by myself without support for very long. So all of this hinges on trust up and down in both directions, in the chain of command.
Yeah, and this is we end up with Little Heart's expanding torrent. You know,
Yes. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
right, which he I think was writing about 100 years ago now.
Yes, absolutely. Bruce, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate it. I really thank you for being a great guest and sharing with us your expertise. Why don't you make one more plug for the Tactical Notebook?
Yes, yeah. Again, if you like this sort of thing, the first place, of course, you want to go to is John Schmidt's the Shadowbox Substack. But second best is the Tactical Notebook, and we are neighbors right there on Substack. So if you can find the Shadowbox, you can find the Tactical Notebook.
Great. So it's tacticalnotebook.substack.com. Very
That's
good.
correct. Yes.
So Bruce, thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. So viewers, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to click like and or post a comment to join the conversation. If you want to learn more about Shadowbox decision games, go to warfighters.substack.com. If you want to learn more about Shadowbox, my company, go to shadowboxtraining.com. And if you want to contact us directly, you can do that at info@shadowboxtraining.com. Thank you very much for joining, and we'll see you next time.